What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of the Shrimp Cocktail Sports Podcast. My name is Jake. I'm along with Shrimp and Andy as per usual. Guys, what's going on today?
Not much, just got out of a softball game that I went to go view.
That's fun. Any fights? Anybody go at it today?
Nah, not this time.
Not this time. That's good. Shrimp, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. I just learned that Andy went to a softball game.
The more you know.
All right. Well, we had actually a pretty eventful week in sports. We got some college football we'll touch on later. We'll cover some hockey. But first, guys, the big story. The NHL had a draft lottery a few weeks ago. Suspected number one pick was going to be Detroit because they finished 30 points behind everybody. They were terrible. Right, Andy? Awful. Just awful.
God awful.
Awful. Worst team in like 10, 15 years. Probably longer. They ended up picking fourth. The number one pick went to a undetermined team because of the expanded playoff this year. So it was the way it worked out is one of the losers of the qualifying round series of the NHL playoffs would get that number one pick. I think it was a 12.5% chance all 8 teams had a shot to win number one pick. And guys, guess who the number one pick went to? It went to the Rangers, baby. Let's go.
Hey, watch that song. I don't want copyright claims.
The Rangers won the first overall pick for the second time in team history. I don't remember exactly what year the first overall pick was when they had it the other time. I think it was the 60s or 70s. But the guy they picked never played a game in the NHL. So, Andy, the Penguins were in that mix. Before we get talking into all the Rangers stuff, because I can go on for a while, what were your thoughts on the Pens dropping that series to the Habs? Because when we did our Stanley Cup playoff preview or the qualifying preview, I don't think any of us really expected the Habs to win more than one game.
No, we didn't. I mean, they fought to the very end, but at the end of the day, they got a big decision to make between Murray and Jerry.
I'm a little surprised Jari wasn't the starter in the first place. That's the words. I know what you meant. Because he was an all-star this year. How the hell? Like I get that Matt Murray had the 2 cups, but Murray struggled pretty much the entire year. I was very surprised Jari didn't get the game 1 nod.
Murray struggled like big time the past 2 years, but it is probably because of the cup and the 2 cups. And when you win those 2 cups, it builds that loyalty to this player. Very tough to get rid of him now. Very tough to not play him.
I still think if they want to trade him, they can get a haul for him.
They might have to. I mean,
someone's got to go.
Everyone's getting up there now. I'm honestly surprised they kept Malkin this long. If it wasn't for the 2 cups, I really thought they would have traded him by now.
That was my next question. The Penguins last year, they got swept by the Islanders in the first round. This year, they lose to the 24th ranked team in the NHL. Don't even technically make the playoffs. Do the Penguins need? I'm not saying go into a full like Ranger rebuild like we did a couple of years ago. Do they need to look at like the roster and retool and take a look at themselves in the mirror kind of thing?
Yeah, I think they do need to realize. Well, we're not the teams that won the cups anymore.
Right.
We still have Sidney Crosby, who's still playing unreal. We could still build around him. And you know what? We might get 1 or 2 more runs out of him.
Yeah, I agree. I think they got to do something. No, I know what you mean. I think they definitely have to change something because the last 2 years have even proved it. But back to the lottery. Did you watch the lottery live?
I did a little bit, but I did see that the Maple Leafs ball just lipped out.
So I think I retweeted that video on our Twitter account. Go follow us at Shrimp Sports Pod on Twitter if you feel like it. It double doinked like the Bears. It was like going up the tube, hit the left side, hit the right side, dropped out, and the Ranger ball shot up, and that's how we won it.
Now, I was talking to my uncle the other day, and he seems to think that the Ranger ball was a little bit heavier than the others.
Okay. I've seen this. There's a theory that's been floating around the Twitter sphere that the lottery was rigged in the Rangers' favor because the guy who brought the balls in, he dropped the Ranger ball. So what he was doing is he was showing the ping pong balls with the logos on them. So he'd be like, Mr. Commissioner, can you confirm this is the Predators logo? And when he brought the Ranger one to right above where he dropped it, he let go of the ball and it dropped. And then the Rangers ended up winning the lottery. So people were like, oh, wait a minute, what's wrong here? If the ball was heavier, that would be kind of a detriment. Like it wouldn't, like the way it was, they were bouncing around, they had like air blowing up the ping pong balls. The ball wouldn't have risen as high as
that's what I said to my uncle. I'm like, no, the ball is going to go down even further if it's heavier.
Yeah, no, it wasn't rigged. It was just, it's funny how the way it ended up. It was like the one ball he dropped was the team that ended up winning the lottery. But like if that, like you said, like if that Leafs ball doesn't hit that right side, they win the number 1 pick. And we're having a totally different conversation right now.
Now, did we ever discuss if we're putting an asterisk on the NHL season?
We did. We talked about that a couple of episodes ago. I said no for hockey. I think we both said the only one would be baseball because it's like 100 games less than usual.
So for those who kind of think that there's an asterisk on this season, how would you feel if there's an asterisk on the Rangers? Like every cup they win with Lafreniere is an asterisk next to it.
Bite me. It was an equal chance. It was a 12.5% chance for everybody to win that number 1 pick. Like it could have easily been the Penguins bowl that bounced off. If the Rangers win a cup in 6 years with Lafreniere on the roster, and some idiot says, "No, it's an asterisk. We shouldn't have had Lafreniere." You're a moron. Stop talking.
Honestly, hopefully in 6 years we don't even remember COVID.
I know. So that when I was watching the lottery, I was with a bunch of friends who they don't follow sports like at all. So we were hanging around just talking, chilling. We watched something on TV. I wasn't going to ask them to put the lottery on for a half hour. So I was watching it on my phone, and because of everything going on, I get Twitter updates from like various reporters and stuff like that from every sport, just so I like know the news. And I have like 3 or 4 hockey reporters that I follow, and I'm watching it on my phone. The balls are bouncing around, and I get the first drop. It says NYR wins the Lafreniere sweepstakes. I'm like, no way. And like, I'm freaking out sitting there, but I can't say anything. And like, I keep getting like, I got like 3 more. Rangers win the lottery. Rangers win the lottery. I'm like, no way. And then when the ball popped up, I had to like restrain myself from like freaking the hell out. I was so excited.
I have no idea how you were able to do that.
Like I legit had to like bite my tongue, like, oh my God, you cannot scream right now. I like if I was home, I would have lost my mind. I would have lost it. I would have been running around the house naked like a lunatic. It would have been insane. like when we got number 2 last year, I was living in the city at the time. And when we popped up, when the Blackhawks logo popped up at 3, and we had got like Kakko and Hughes were the 2 best prospects, bar none, I lost it. Jumping around my apartment like a lunatic. It was amazing. But I was by myself. So But yeah, so the Rangers won the lottery. They won it over the losing teams. I just thank God. I was like honestly going into it. I'm like, if the Rangers don't win it, just not the Penguins or the Leafs, anybody but those 2. I couldn't imagine having to play that guy 4 or 5 times a year on the Penguins.
Oh my God, that wouldn't even been fair.
Oh my God.
Regardless of a number 1 overall pick, just getting to learn anything at all from Sidney Crosby.
I know it would have been just not fair, but it worked out. And the Rangers rebuild, I think this year the Rangers rebuild got a big jump anyway. Like when we signed Panarin and we got Kakko last year, and the Rangers were good. Like the Rangers probably weren't a playoff team. Well, I shouldn't even say that. We were close before this all started. But now next year, the expectations just ratcheted up that much more with Lafreniere.
But I was going to say,
sorry.
The Rangers are like the absolute prime example of winning while rebuilding. You know,
right.
They got a glimpse of the future without Henrik Lundqvist. They were able to get another first-round pick in this year's draft. It's just the talent in their minor leagues it's disgusting.
If the Rangers win a cup after doing this rebuild, they'll write books on how the Rangers did it. Like with the letter that went out. I remember where I was when the letter came out saying, look, we're not where we want to be as a franchise. We're going to have to trade some of our, like they said, some of your favorite players or some of the franchise faces. I was sitting in class my junior year of college, and to be where we are now, the Rangers have handled it so well. It's not done yet. I don't think adding Lafreniere makes the Rangers cup contenders. I think going into next year, the Rangers are like playoff contenders. I think they could be 2 or 3 in the Metro, definitely a wild card. I think if next year they don't make the playoffs, I think it's a disappointment. This is also not incorporating free agency into it or anything like that yet.
But this is exactly what happens when James Dolan doesn't pay attention to the team.
The best owner in hockey. It's his
best owner.
He is. Like I saw a tweet. I saw a tweet that said, like, I can't believe how lucky the Rangers have gotten the last 2 years in the lottery when the Knicks have not gotten lucky in the lottery since they got Patrick Ewing in the 1980s. Like,
God, it's going to be the absolute worst when the Rangers win a cup and you just see James Dolan trying around on the ice, hoisting the Stanley Cup.
I honestly do kind of feel bad for Knicks fans because, like, the Rangers, at least, like, the last 3 or 4 years, we've been kind of meh. But, like, we went to the Stanley Cup Finals. We won a President's Trophy as number 1 seed. We were the number 1 seed, I think, twice in this decade. Like, we were always in the playoffs for 10 years. And the Knicks have just been awful for a decade. Like, I do feel bad for, like, I am a Knicks fan, but I just don't follow the Knicks that closely. But the people who are, like,
don't get how
diehard
they can't
Knicks
get
fans,
something right. How can you keep changing things out, but nothing works? How is that possible?
The Knicks just don't get the luck either. Like, you look even in the draft, because the Knicks are always in the draft lottery. Well, they don't get the number 1 pick. Like, what have they picked higher than 4th? And they picked Porzingis and then traded him 3 years later. Like, I don't know. It's different. It's different. It's just different. It's just different with the team's work.
It's just they can't rub the stigma away.
No. Enough about the Knicks because that's just going to bum me out. Let's talk about Alexis Lafreniere a little bit. He plays in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, which is the QMJHL. In his 3 years, in 2017-18, he had 83 points with 42 goals and 38 assists. The next year, he had 37 goals and 68 assists for 105 points. And this past season, he had 35 goals, 77 assists for 112 points. He's the first player, I don't remember who was the first player to win MVP in the QMJHL back-to-back years or lead league in scoring in back-to-back years since Sidney Crosby. Which, when you throw those two together, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
This next quote about Lafreniere is from it's from NHL Central Scouting. It's a little long, so just bear with me. He's an exceptionally smart player with top-end speed and pull-away gear. He's great at carrying the puck and leading rushes and executes under pressure, has great vision and anticipation. Lafreniere offers high-end puck skills and vision to create plays, has an impressive compete level every time he's on the ice, and elevates his game in pressure situations while demonstrating leadership skills, which is exactly what the New York Rangers need. I don't think I've been this excited for a sporting event thing since the Patriots won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Like, I was legit, like, freaking out for a legit day and a half after this happened. Like, it was insane. So he's being compared to Jonathan Huberdeau, who was the number 1 overall pick of the Florida Panthers, who's not that's not like a sexy name, but he's a really good player. He put up, I think, 92 points last year. And he's also been compared to a mix of David Pastrnak and Alexander Ovechkin, which, if you can put up,
if you get compared to Alexander Ovechkin, let's go.
I'm just so excited about this. The Rangers never get this lucky, like, ever. It also opens up a lot for the Rangers to do now with trades, and because we were very, very strapped to the cap, we were gonna have very little cap room going to next year anyway, especially with the cap staying flat. So now it gives the Rangers a little more opportunity to kind of make some trades. Where, like, I think probably Tony DeAngelo is going to get traded.
Not Tony D.
I love Tony DeAngelo. He's not a good defenseman, and that's your main job as a defenseman. So if we had to trade him, I would not be that upset. It's because he's probably going to – Strome is probably going to be – who's another one of our RFAs. He's probably going to be about $4 or $5 million a year, and so is DeAngelo. And the Rangers have a ton of defensive depth in the minors. So I think DeAngelo probably bites the bullet there, and we trade him. I was listening to a podcast today that talked about trading him maybe to Tampa or something like that. Strome, I would think, stays because we need a center. So, like, looking at the lineup, maybe for next year, it would be our Kreider, Zibanejad, and Buchnevich on line one, which Buchnevich could go somewhere too. You could totally dangle a forward because with Vitaly Kravtsov and Niels Lundqvist coming up, there's space. Then it would be Panarin, Hedel, and Kakko on line two. Lafreniere would be line three against center. We'd probably say Ryan Strome and Julien Gauthier. And the fourth line would just be whatever. David Quinn barely plays a fourth line anyway. And then Adam Fox, Ryan Lindgren on defense with Jacob Trouba and Keandre Miller. And Igor and net, let's cook, baby. This team's ready to go.
I did see a few tweets the other day, like a possibility of trading for Eichel.
Okay, so this has been floating around because Eichel said he basically said he was fed up with losing. I don't see the Rangers doing that, to be totally honest. I think they'd have to part with a lot. They'd have to probably give up. They wouldn't give up the number one pick. They'd give up our second first rounder, which is Carolina's. They probably have to give up Buchnevich and maybe Hedel or something like that, and maybe another pick or a prospect. It'd be too much of a haul. I'd have to see the deal to see whether or not I think of it, but I think it'd just be too much. There was one, though, where I was listening to a podcast. It was the Athletic Rangers podcast. It's called Blue Shirts Breakaway. Go listen to them. They're awesome. Where they said the Rangers should offer sheet Matt Barzal, who plays for the Islanders. And that one would only really if Henrik retires, which he really could, that frees up about $8 million in cap space for the Rangers. Do that 100%. If that situation plays out where Lundqvist retires and the Islanders have no money, offer sheet Matt Barzal 100%. Andy, what do you think about what do we think about that? Because Barzal is one of the more dynamic guys in the NHL.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see him on the Rangers.
It would work out. Like the Rangers could pay it. He's an unbelievable player. And you have the opportunity to I don't want to say screw over one of your main rivals.
Do it back-to-back years.
But yeah, like he's my age. He's born 3 days after me. He plays center, and the Rangers need a center. So if Lundqvist retires and goes to Sweden, why don't you you'd have to part with the number one overall because offer sheets in the NHL are weird. You have to give up draft picks, so the Rangers have to give up 4 first-round picks. But if you offer sheet Matt Barzal and you give up the 4 first-round picks, they're going to be late first-round picks anyway. I think you do that in a heartbeat because the Islanders can't match that contract.
I mean, why not? I mean, if you know the Islanders can't possibly match it.
They can't. I'm going to look at cap friendly really quick. They have very, very little.
Where is their cap? Wait, where's that money going?
I don't if the Rangers don't offer sheet Matt Barzal, somebody should, because the Islanders just straight up they can't afford to pay him.
But they could have afforded Tavares.
That was a couple of years ago too. They also traded for JG Pageau and then signed it.
That's crazy.
The Islanders right now have about $3 million in cap space. They are Martin is UFA for next year. So they're going to have about 5 or 6 million. Oh, wait, Andy Green's also leaving. So they're going to have some cap space. But if the Rangers have the opportunity to do it, I would do it 100% if you can free up that cap space from if Lundqvist retires. If Lundqvist doesn't retire, this doesn't matter because they won't have enough money. But if Lundqvist retires, the Rangers have to do that, 100%.
Not to.
Yeah. Andy, do you have anything else on Lafreniere or the Rangers?
Wish him all the luck in New York.
Yeah, I've also seen some reports that the Rangers would look into trading the pick. I think that's just they're going to listen. They're not trading that pick. They've already tweeted out things with pictures of Lafreniere and stuff like that. They're not trading that pick unless the trade is literally Connor McDavid. The Rangers should not part with that pick.
No, just all smokescreen.
Yeah. So with that, we're gonna move on to just a quick. I'm gonna want to blow through this. I'm gonna go rapid fire with the Stanley Cup playoff update. We already talked a little bit about the Habs beating the Penguins. I'm gonna say the matchup. We're gonna throw out a winner who we're gonna think, and then next week we're gonna pick. We'll go more into the series as the games go on. There's been a bunch of stuff going on, so we haven't been able to do a lot of like in-depth stuff. That sound good, guys?
Yeah.
All right. So in the East, Montreal and the Flyers. That's the 8-1. Andy, what do you have?
Who is it? I'm sorry.
Montreal and the Flyers. 1-8.
I'm going Montreal.
Really? How many games?
6.
Okay. I saw they played tight the other day. I think they scored to tie it, and the Flyers scored like 30 seconds afterwards to win game 1. But I've seen a few people picking the Canadians to beat them. I don't know. I like the Flyers a lot. I'm gonna say Flyers in 6. I think the Habs get 2. The Canadians are obviously the ones who beat the Penguins in the first round. Flyers won the round robin, clinched the number 1 seed. Okay. 2 versus 7 matchup. Tampa Bay and Columbus. Rematch of last year where the Blue Jackets swept the record-setting President's Trophy winning Lightning. Game 1 went 5 overtimes. 85 save for Jonas Korpisalo. Who played over an hour? Seth Jones? Seth Jones played over an hour for Columbus of ice time. Andy, who do you have in this series?
Columbus in 5.
In 5? You think they're going to win 4 in a row? Wow. Yep. Okay. All right. I like that pick. I am actually going to say Columbus in 7. I think it's going to go the distance, but I think they're going to win it again.
I think that game 1's really going to catch up to the Lightning.
Columbus won today, so that series is tied 1-1. I think I'm going to say Columbus in 7. I like that pick. Columbus beat the Leafs in the round robin, and something's got to change with the Leafs. They're stuck in losing in the first round. Their defense is still really bad. Something's got to change there. We won't go that much into that because I want to get through hockey. 6-seeded Islanders against 3-seeded Caps. The Islanders won game. Beat the hell out of the Panthers in the qualifier. Andy, who do you have in that series?
Oh my God, it's the Capitals in 6.
Caps in 6. I'm going to say Caps in 6 as well. I just don't think the Islanders can offense keep up with the Capitals. Last Eastern Conference series, the Hurricanes, the 5 seed against the Bruins, the 4 seed. The Bruins are the President's Trophy winners, so they have the most points in the regular season, but went 0-3 in the qualifying round. The Hurricanes beat the hell out of the Rangers. It was ugly. The Rangers did not look good, but I don't care. We won the draft lottery, so thank you, Carolina Hurricanes. I love you. Andy, who do you have in that series?
Bruins in 5.
Bruins in 5. I'm going to say Hurricanes in 7. Before the season started, I had the Hurricanes in the Stanley Cup final, and I'm going to stick with that. So Hurricanes in 7. Let's jump to the West now. We'll try to get through this. The Golden Knights and the Blackhawks, who are actually in overtime right now. They're on my TV. There's about 13 minutes to go in the first overtime period. I'm going to say Vegas in 6. My Stanley Cup final prediction at the beginning of the season was Vegas over Carolina. I love Vegas. I think Vegas is so deep. I think they're so good. So I'm going to keep that. My Stanley Cup final prediction is Vegas over Carolina, and I'm going to say Vegas wins this series in 6. Andy, what do you got?
I agree. Vegas in 6.
Fantastic. We're flying through hockey. 2-7 matchup. Arizona against Colorado. The Coyotes knocked out Nashville in the qualifiers in 5. Kempner, the goalie for Arizona, looked awesome in game 1, but the Coyotes didn't do anything. Oh, Vegas just won.
Let's go.
Riley Smith just scored, so Vegas is up 2 games to none.
2-0, right?
2-0, yep.
Can we edit that? Can we edit that? Yeah, Vegas in 4 now.
Vegas in 4. It's a sweep. I'm telling you, this Vegas team is so good. We'll go back to that series for a second. How do you feel right now if you're an Oilers fan after losing to the Blackhawks? Like, with Draisaitl, McDavid, how do you feel?
I guess it's just nothing that they're not used to. I mean, you still got Connor McDavid. You still got some bones.
It's got to be frustrating.
You just gotta like where you're heading.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you've been saying, Oilers fans have been saying you gotta like where you're heading in for the last 10 years, but
if it wasn't for the layoff, and this would have been a very different story. Of course, Taze and Kane and all those guys rested are gonna beat you up.
I thought they probably still should have beat them, but no, I get it. But yeah, so Vegas is up 2-0. They just scored the game winner. Arizona, Colorado, we'll go back to that. In game one, again, Kempner looked awesome, but the Coyotes only had 13 shots on goal the entire game. Colorado won 3-0. Andy, who do you have in this series, the Avs or the Yotes?
I like the Abs.
I'm going to say the Avs I'm going to say 5. I'm going to say the Avs in 5.
I'll say 6.
Okay. Next, let's jump to Calgary, Dallas. Calgary won game 1 of this series. The Stars looks very to me in the round robin. Andy, who do you have in this series? We're flying through.
Even though they're on the slow start, I'm still saying the Stars in 7.
Okay. I'm going to say Calgary in 7. I think this one will go to distance, but I think the Flames get it done. And then our last West Stanley Cup playoffs quarterfinal series, 5-seeded Vancouver Canucks against the 4-seeded St. Louis Blues. Blues are the defending Stanley Cup champs and the regular season Western Conference champions, but they struggled in the round robin and got to the 4 seed. Andy, I love Vancouver. I kind of think they're going to go to the Western Conference final. I'm going to say Canucks in 7.
I'm going Blues in 7.
Okay. I think my final four is I think Carolina in the East. Oh, I have it written. My West is Carolina and oh my God, I'm so dumb. My West is Vancouver and Vegas. And then my East is Carolina. And who did I put? Hang on, I'm looking at it. Give me a second. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. This is terrible podcasting. Carolina and Tampa. That is mine. Even though I just picked the Blue Jackets, that was a pick in the moment. But I was very high on the Canucks when we did our playoff preview in the last episode. I think the Canucks are going to go to the conference final.
Sounds about right.
All right, so we flew through hockey, and there was a reason because we have a big thing to end with. We'll do more in-depth hockey stuff in the next episode. I will go game by game, and we'll talk more in depth next week. Guys, we have a new segment. How awesome is that?
Yay, new segment. Pew, pew, new segment alert.
This is actually our buddy CJ's idea. We're gonna do a trivia segment each week where I think maybe during the week I'll tweet out the question and we'll get people to respond, kind of thing. But for the first one, Shrimp, I'm gonna ask you too, so pay attention. We have 2 questions this week. The first one, it's a hockey question. What team name is misspelled on the Stanley Cup from the 1971-72 season? So the Stanley Cup champion from 1972 was spelled wrong on the Stanley Cup. Who was it?
There is no way I'm getting that.
Yes.
The Ottawa team. Senators, is it? Who's the Ottawa team?
The Senators didn't exist in 1972, so good guess, Shrimp. Andy, who do you think?
Want to join Trip and say the Senators?
He just said they didn't
Senators weren't a
exist.
thing in the 70s.
They are now.
It was actually the Boston Bruins.
We
The
should get
2
3
O's
guesses
in
each after this one.
Fine. For the next question, you get 3 guesses. It was the Boston Bruins. The 2 O's in Boston were Q's on the Stanley Cup. Like, why are you putting a Q in the middle of Boston? Like, what's the thought process there?
What do they even use to print names on the Stanley Cup?
Somebody engraves them by hand.
Oh my.
Yeah, there's a few misspelling. I think there's like Islanders is spelt wrong or something. There's a bunch of them, but it happens. It's kind of funny. All right. So our next question, we'll get 3 guesses. Shrimp, you'll go first, then we'll go to Andy. What country has competed in the most Summer Olympics without winning a medal? Without winning a gold medal, without winning any medal.
Bulgaria.
Nope.
Oh,
What's your next guess?
Oh, is it not to Andy now? Would that make sense?
No, well, just give me your 3.
Okay, so Bulgaria, Albania, Romania.
Andy, what are your guesses?
Japan, Sweden, and In France.
Did you just say Japan?
Yeah, I said Japan.
Like baseball Japan? They of course
baseball
won.
Japan.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Shrimp, you got one right. It was
It's
Albania.
not fair. He picked names that rhyme.
Albania has never won any medal, and they've competed in the most Olympic Games. Shrimp, was that just did you just pull that one out of thin air?
Jake, I know nothing. So yes.
If you gave him 4 guesses, he would have guessed Korea as the last one.
It's a better guess than Japan.
Says you.
Shrimp, you should have guessed the United States because you don't know anything about our history.
I don't know what you're talking about. I won the game. Shut up and move on.
This guy thought the War of 1812. This guy thought the War of 1812 was the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, that isn't recorded anywhere, so it's not true.
It was true. I was standing right next to you when you said it.
This isn't true again. We haven't hung out in 10 years.
So that's our trivia segment. Our buddy CJ is going to be sending me trivia questions every week. I'll tweet them out beforehand, and we'll get some responses, and I'll ask these guys, and we'll see what they say. We have another big announcement. We have a live content segment coming out this fall. So what we're going to do is Connecticut, the 3 of us are from Connecticut. So the 3 of us we're going to pick Connecticut Football Game of the Week. We're going to tweet out during the game. We're going to cover it live, get some video for you guys. It's going to be awesome. Live coverage. Andy, I'm excited.
Let's go. I need our podcast viewers to see my beautiful face.
It's going to be fun. I've been around high school football for my whole life, so it'll be good to actually be able to go and cover it. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, you guys have fun with that. You guys have fun with
being
that.
Lame. Just being lame because he doesn't like sports. So yeah, we have our new trivia segment and our high school football segment coming out hopefully soon. That also depends on whether or not Connecticut lets people go. That depends, but we are 100% doing it one way or another. We'll stream it. I'll tweet it. I don't care. We're doing it. And then, so we'll move on to our last topic. This one kind of gets a little more heavy and a little less lighthearted than when we were talking about hockey. Boys, college football's a mess, isn't it?
It's an absolute disaster.
So unless you've been living under a rock, you've known because of the coronavirus pandemic, college football has been in doubt for a couple months. Nobody really knew what we were doing. There's no cohesive message. The conferences are kind of going on their own. So where we stand now is the two biggest conferences right now to cancel have been the Big Ten and the Pac-12. So the Big Ten includes Michigan, Ohio State, those teams. Pac-12 includes USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon, those guys. The other 3 Power Fives, the SEC, ACC, and Big 12, are all so far moving on with their seasons. However, a monkey wrench was thrown in about 2 hours ago when the NCAA canceled all Division I championships, but for some reason doesn't include football. So football can still, the Division I sports can still play, but there's no national championships except football. Guys, what are your thoughts? What do you think?
I don't understand how the Big Ten and Big 12 can go about this. As far as I know, the players are still practicing 20 hours a week. Why can't you play? Why is it okay to have kids on campus but not play football?
I think the main thing they're worried about is that kids coming from out of state, who knows who they've been in contact with, who knows what they've been doing. Like Syracuse has already had a frat get thrown off campus for having a party. Kids for not obeying quarantine rules. I'm sorry, I relate everything back to Syracuse, where I went to school. That's what we're going to talk about mostly. But I think that's what they're worried about. They're also worried about how the heart thing. Did you guys see that? What came out this week?
No, I didn't.
There's a heart issue that's been possibly linked to COVID-19. It's mito. I forget what it's like mito something. It's like a swelling or inflammation of the heart, which I think is treatable. But if it's undetected, it can lead to cardiac arrest and death. So the main thing they're worried about is liability reasons. If, God forbid, knock on wood, a kid gets sick and dies on campus, can the family sue the university? In 10 years, if a Northwestern fullback gets the coronavirus and then in 10 years has health issues, can he sue the school kind of thing?
As far as I know, I thought I saw that the NCAA was trying to get the kids to sign contracts that would prohibit them from doing that exact thing.
The NCAA said they can't sign waivers. Like, they don't have to.
Oh.
So that's the issue. Like, the schools are really worried about the liability issue, in which I honestly understand. But the one thing I would say is I still don't think they're going to be able to play, but I like that the 3 other Power Fives are at least waiting until the season starts, like right before the season starts, to cancel it. But with the NCAA canceling all of the other sports championships, I don't know how you can justify them playing. Like,
there's no point at that then.
You could say that, like, you have the money and the ability to test more and prevent it, but like, I don't know. It's such a complicated mess because there's not one unifying figure in college football. There's no commissioner of college football who can say, this is what we're doing, this is the plan, this is the testing procedures, blah, 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 blah. It's every conference for themselves, and it's just turned into a disaster.
That's just what happens when there's not one face behind it.
Right.
Which there's no reason why there isn't.
I don't understand, like, how the NCAA for FBS football is in charge of maintain like eligibility standards, but they don't crown a champion or control the postseason in their biggest money-making sport, and that makes no sense to me. How when they canceled today, they canceled the fall championships, and football is not one of them. That makes no sense. Like, I don't understand how football operates like that.
This is just college sports in general. It's all suspect.
It's there's going to be so much change, like, because you've seen players like saying the hashtag we want to play. Trevor Lawrence has been the main voice in all of this, the biggest voice. Like Justin Fields for Ohio State, the quarterback, has wanted to play. Ryan Day, who was the coach of Ohio State, has been very vocal in how they want. But Jim Harbaugh, Scott Frost, Dino Babers, the head coach of Syracuse. It's just such a mess because there's no representation for the players. There's every conference I honestly think conferences are starting to get pressure from school presidents, not just ADs, and that's why they kind of said, "All right, we got to cancel." I'll also throw it in there. Sorry, I know I've been talking a lot. UConn, UMass, the Mountain West, the MAC, and I think that's it for D1A have all canceled. I think the MAC being the first D1A school conference to cancel, was huge, and what set the chain reaction to the Pac-12 and the Big Ten canceling.
Did you guys see what the UMass coach said?
Yeah, he said something like both of his parents passed away, like pretty close to each other, and he said his decision to cancel football was worse than that.
Yeah, that's on a whole different level.
What kind of messed up son is that? What the hell?
That's quite a take. I mean, and I get that kids are disappointed, and like putting away from football, even like the men's, women's soccer players, the cross country, they're losing their season too, and it sucks. Like, it's just.
It stinks because this is it for some of those players.
Yeah. Even football, you have the guys who go to Ohio State and Michigan who aren't going to play in the NFL, and this is it. And if you think they're going to play spring football, you're out of your mind. They're not going to play an 8-game season in the spring and then have a month off and go play another 15-game season in the fall for a normal 20. No way. I do not see any circumstance where the Big Ten or Pac-12 or any of these schools play spring football.
No, because if someone gets seriously injured, it's not going to happen. Or sick.
It's just, the thing to me is the fact that, like, they knew when the NCAA tournament got canceled in March, how do you not get together as the commissioners of these conferences and say, all right, we got to figure out what the hell we're going to do for football in the fall. We got to find out plan A, plan B, plan C. How is there no communication?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they didn't sit together and come up with contingency plans.
Here's the question. When do you start getting worried about basketball season?
Oh, That's got to be
now.
pretty soon. I mean, if we're in mid-September about mid-September is when you start getting worried.
Because like they start practices, they're not necessarily playing till right at the beginning of November. But even so, the Pac-12 actually canceled all of their sports until 2021, so they're not playing anything. When do you, I'm starting to get worried about basketball. I really am, because I don't necessarily know if you can do a bubble like what the NBA is doing for college, because they're not pro athletes. But
only around the tournament they could, but
the tournament they could do a bubble. I think you're right. I think they could do a bubble for the NCAA tournament, but
it is a bubble essentially.
Right. I think who said it was a Seton Hall head coach, and then Jim Boeheim reiterated it, which is what made it come onto my radar. Said that you could do because most schools have kids leaving the week before Thanksgiving and they're not coming back till the middle of January. It's just the basketball teams on campus. They could play, even if you do your non-conference games, like just regionally, like Syracuse plays Buffalo, plays Army, plays UConn, plays those like regional schools, non-conference. And then we do our conference games and they're basically in a bubble anyway on campus. Like, I feel like that would make the most, like, I feel like college basketball can start on time. I just don't know if it will.
I think they should consider starting the tournament like the week after the Super Bowl, maybe. Just
earlier, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if they move the tournament up. I think if that ended up being the case, they don't play basketball till after the new year. I think they probably just play everybody in conference twice, because you could probably get 25, 30 games by just playing in conference. I don't know if they can move the NCAA tournament though. I don't know, but I'm generally starting to get worried about basketball season. I really am.
Yeah, you're absolutely right to be worried about it now.
Yeah, it's just right now the conferences for basketball should be on the phone every day talking about what we're gonna do. It should be a unified thing and not every conference. Like just it's basically every man for himself in football, and it shouldn't have been this way. But
they should be renting Adam Silver's services for this season.
They should, but I don't know. It's just they gotta figure something out. They have to. I don't know. It's insane. It's just a mess. All of it. College sports will be changed forever with this whole experience.
Nothing's ever going to be the same.
Nope. With that, guys, you got anything else to add on college basketball, college football, hockey, anything?
No, I'm all good.
Shrimp, you good, buddy?
Yeah, you attacked my 2 weak points today. College and NHL.
I remember we were talking before the virus started how this was going to be the year you start following college football, and that went to hell pretty quick.
Yeah, it was like it was a sign or something.
I mean, we could always pick you a team still for next year.
He's a Syracuse fan.
I guess I'm a Syracuse fan.
You don't want to roll with the Tide?
No, you roll with the orange.
You sure you don't want to roll with the Tide?
No, don't be that guy.
Roll Tide.
I mean,
oh my
God.
Shrimp, you're fired. I'm filing a complaint to HR.
How do you fire me? We own the same percent of the company.
Oh, with that, we'll end episode 6, guys. Good episode. Next week, we'll go a little bit more in depth into the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then if anything else happens in college sports, we probably should talk about the NBA. I just got to realize we have not talked about that in like 4 weeks.
It's there.
It's there. It's a thing. It's going.
The Suns are really good.
Melo moved into 15th place all time in scoring. Dwayne Wade is no
Jay Warren.
Yeah, we'll talk about.
Are we starting the NBA now? No, let's wrap it up.
No, we'll talk about the NBA next week. But yeah, good episode, guys. I'm happy we're going to start doing the high school football thing, and yeah, that's about it. So for Andy and Shrimp, I'm Jake. Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
Bye.